Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer with producer Lucia helping us out. And Mike, it's a very exciting time because Churchill Downs is opening up. We're going to talk about a race on Saturday night at Churchill Downs. That means we're just a week away from the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky Derby packages are available. We're going to have the draw on Saturday night. You can actually start your handicapping right now. That's why they have these packages, because if you want to get the Derby handicapping in the advanced with the advanced PPs done. That's great. Guys like you and I, Mike, we watch a lot of replays. We're looking at a lot of charts. You want to get as much of that work done before as possible, and then you can just make some adjustments based on the draw.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with getting a jump on it, right? There's so much work to be done in so many big races there. Personally, I am someone who tries to put it off as long as possible, but you got to get started sometime, man. There's a lot to look at. This is a pretty good deal here.
Save the money, and you can get all the different tools that you love and the different daily racing form features. Let's pad our bankroll, Mike, because we have to talk about the opening night feature at Churchill Downs here. This is going to be the Roxelana going 6 furlongs on the dirt. It's a $200,000 stakes race. Thought it was a pretty interesting group. I didn't think there was going to be any overwhelming favorite. Sandy Bottom comes off of a decent third in the carousel last time out, has speed. There's not that much speed in this race. We'll look at the pace projector early on. What are some of your thoughts of this field?
Yeah, I thought they were really well matched. I'm with you. I guess Sandy Bottom makes sense as the morning line favorite here. Gino, I'm not really sure who's going to wind up being favored at post time.
I agree.
I looked at this race for a long time last night. I felt like if I had to, I could make a case for anybody.
I think so too. And there's a field of 8. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. How do they think this race shapes up? So they do have Sandy Bottom out front. She's quick. Third in the carousel last time out. The horse they have closest to her is the number 7 Girls Weekend, who's shown a little bit of speed. Not surprising to see those two up there. But then you have kind of another tier of horses, I think, Mike, that could be right behind them, kind of sitting close and pressing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I won't be surprised when Sandy Bottom comes out running because that's her running style. And then we'll see, how the other horses decide to play off of her. I felt like maybe, sort of an under the radar pace player, and here could be the one
Yeah.
non-violence. I know she's cutting back in distance for this. The last time she sprinted on dirt, she broke very poorly from the gate, but otherwise, she's shown a lot of speed, and she has the rail here. I wonder if they get pretty aggressive here.
We can meet the field and talk about her right now. And the number one, non-violence, is a stakes winner and is the inside post position in this field. She's a 6-year-old mare. She had a good start most recently. She was right with the leaders, kind of like you're pointing out, and then she backed off a little bit. So she has that natural speed. Like, she gets out of the gate pretty well. And I do think with the inside draw, that might force her a little bit. So I wouldn't be shocked if she's someone like you're saying, Mike, can kind of heat this pace up a bit.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they play the break here. Again, she doesn't need to be on the lead, but she's
No.
pretty fast. And if they want to go forward and she breaks well from the rail, they could be right up close in this race. And I don't think she's overmatched by these horses, Gino. I'll be interested to see, what kind of price she goes off at here. That's what I want to wait for. She just had that field overmatched last time when they finally put her back under, and she won easily. But her sprint form, when you go back and sort of filter through her form. I'm going to give her a pass for the Lone Star race last May because she broke really poorly that day and just never got involved. But otherwise, her sprint form is really good, and I think it gives her a chance to win this race.
That race at Churchill last year, about a year or 2 years ago, in May of
Yeah.
2023, going 6.5 furlongs sprinting from the rail, kind of a trip that she might get in here where she's sitting pretty close. Like that's what you're looking for if you're playing non-violence in this spot. Sandy Bottom is a stakes winner. She won her first 3 starts. One of those races came off a very long layoff when Tamra was kind of the hot horse that everybody was paying attention to, and Sandy Bottom beat her that day. Then she stepped up. She was in a really tough edition of the La Brea where, we've had a couple next out winners. Copian was in there. She was super impressive. Following that, she was in a better spot in the carousel where she finished third behind Justique. She showed some speed that day. She actually had the lead, I think, early in the stretch that day before fading. What do you think about Sandy Bottom?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I think she's a contender in here. We're going to look at the most recent start here at Oaklawn Park, where she was on the lead. There's a long shot sort of pressing her from the outside. And ultimately, she's just not good enough here. Gino, I don't know about you. I didn't really feel like she had any excuse. She ran fine. She
Agree.
wasn't good enough. And she winds up finishing third at the end. The La Brea, she just looked overmatched to me by those horses. But that was a good field, as you pointed out. I don't have anything bad to say about her, and I respect her speed, but this is just the kind of race where, and I don't know that she is going to be favored at post time, but if she was the post time favorite, I'd be looking to bet against her.
Completely agree. She fits. She'd be like an under type horse I would use, but I would never want to bet her to win at a shortish price of like 3 to 1 or under. She's going to have to get a little bit faster compared to some of these horses, too, just overall on speed figures. Let's move to Lady Moscato. She was a stakes winner at Oaklawn in January, but she's just won for her last 10, Mike. She had that little stretch last year where she won a couple races back to back, but she's only hit the board in 3 of the last 10, and she hasn't really run well overall at Churchill.
Yeah, I agree. And really, her good races are at Oaklawn. That's
Yeah.
where she's really run her best races. That's not something that's something you actually see a lot from Lucas horses. He has really good meets at Oaklawn Park. His horses are ready to roll there, and then some of them can carry it forward, and some of them can't. Lady Moscato so far hasn't been able to do it, and I just don't really like her recent form.
Tripolina is a stakes winner. She's multiple graded stakes placed. She actually beat the boys in her second start. She wins her first 2 races, but she's 0 for the last 8 since. She doesn't have a whole lot of early speed. She fits with this group on class though. Like if she were to show up with one of her better efforts, it's not far off. She just isn't in great win form right now. Mike, can you build a case for her?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know if I love the setup for her here. We'll see. Again, we'll see how this pace plays out, and if anybody goes after Sandy Bottom early in this race, and she's going to need a little bit of pace to come after her. Now, my take on it would just be that since they've switched her to dirt, I think she's handled it fine. But it's 2 sprints and 2 routes, and she's obviously, at least in my opinion, she's a closing sprinter. So they're going to take her. They're going to cut her back again here. She's going to sit at the back, and she's going to try to make one run here. We'll see if the race sets up for her.
Number 5 is Muccia. She's going to get some class relief in this spot. She faced a nice horse named Nick Style in the Minaret. That one is 7 for 8, has won 4 in a row, and then just came back out of that race to win the Grade 3 Hurricane Birdie. When you look at her form overall, she's been overmatched a couple times, but that was in pretty tough spots by nice horses like Emery. You look at Emery's a multiple graded stakes winner, multiple grade 1 placed. Even Hall and Ice, who handled her pretty easily. Hall and Ice has won 4 of 7 since moving into the Safi Joseph barn and has thrown up like 91, 91, 101 buyers recently. I think it's just a good spot for her in here against a softer group than some of those like top tier sprinting groups for her. How do you think Muccia fits?
Yeah, I agree. I think she fits really well here, and I think 8 to 1's a great price on the morning line for her. We'll see what she can do in this spot because I listen. I thought she started out with some potential. I remember really liking her prior race
Yeah.
at Saratoga. I thought she ran really well that day, and unfortunately, she hasn't really backed it up. But listen, she's been in 2 spots, I think, since then. 2 of her 3 races since then, just where she really couldn't win. I'm not going to suggest that she ran well either time, but maybe she was just in a little too tough. I don't think she's in too tough here.
Yeah, I agree. Much better spot. We move to Harbor Springs, who comes out of a race where she actually has the best last out buyer. And what's interesting is the bulk of her career, she was a horse who came from way, way out of it earlier on. And then in the most recent race, she drew the inside. It was a smaller field. They kept her much closer to the field that day, just showing a lot more tactical speed and beat a horse named Easy Red, who's actually won 3 of the last 4. That was just her first start in 3 months, but she had a race. And then she's off again for a couple months. I don't always see that as a positive. It also looks like she raced. She came back on March the 10th to work, and then there's nothing for like a month in between there. So a spotty tab as well, Mike.
Yeah, I hated that. It does seem like something has gone. Let's just say everything hasn't gone according to plan
Yeah.
for Greg Foley since the last time we've seen her. So we'll see if she needs one off the left. I guess you could take it as a good sign that she's come back with 2 really fast works and he's entering a stakes race. So maybe that's a sign that all is well for her. This is another one. I thought she started out her career with a lot of potential. You know, if you pick through her form, I feel like maybe you can dress her up a little bit. They tried to make her a little bit of a route horse. They went a mile with her 3 times in a row. That didn't work out. They tried turf for some reason, and she actually ran fine in that race. But I think she's a dirt sprinter. She was really impressive when she won here in November. I mean, she just smashed that field with a new buyer top, and then she ran really well again last time with a really good trip. I think she's a dangerous horse in here. But you've pointed out all the valid questions
Yeah.
surrounding a horse who's 3 to 1 on the line.
Girls Weekend is going to step up first time against Stakes Company. Her 2 wins have been in an off the turf race on a sloppy track and then in another race that was off the turf at Indy. So she will be stepping up, facing tougher in here. Do you think she fits with this group? Can she at least make Sandy Bottom work hard to get the lead in here?
Yeah, she probably does fit okay here if she can run her very best race, and she should be racing right up close to the pace in here. So maybe that'll work out for her too. I don't, she's run some decent races, Gino, and held her own against some, I think some pretty good horses. I just don't like her wins enough to make me want to bet her here. But listen, she's another horse who's going to be a really fair price in this race, and I don't think she's impossible.
Rounding out the field is a real wild card with Minx Palace. If you're playing her off the first 6 races in her career, she fits. She has 3 wins at Churchill Downs. She has 84 and 90 Buyer speed figures. But since September of 2024, she's only raced twice. She was beaten 9 lengths, then she was off 2 months, and then she was last of 7 off 4 months. So, which filly are we going to get? The one that was really good and kind of precocious early on in her career, or the one where something has gone amiss and she just hasn't been the same the last couple times we've seen her?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, listen, they've run her twice in stakes races, and it hasn't really worked out either time. So that concerns me a little bit. When I first started going through this race, my first pass, I thought I was going to really like her in here,
Yeah,
and I do think she has a real chance in this race. I'm not against her at all. She was awful at Oakland last time. I mean, that was not
just
a good
nothing.
performance. Maybe she needed it off a little bit of a layoff. Maybe she just didn't like Oakland. I don't know what the excuse would be for that race, but she was bad in there. We'll see if she can rebound.
We round out the field here with selections. Mike, talk to us how you stacked them up in the Roxelana.
I thought it was again. I thought it was wide open. We'll see how they wind up betting it. I thought I was going to pick Minx Palace. I couldn't quite get there. I got her second. I'm going to take Harbor Springs here, even with the recent inactivity and the gap in the work tab. I really like her last 2 starts. I'm going to hope she shows up here with a good race.
Yeah, I think she fits really well in this group. We have some similarities here. We're both using the 5, 6, and the 1 in the mix. I throw Muccia on top. Maybe we can get some value. I think for me, like 5, 6 to 1, if she was in that range, that's probably fair where I could still maybe line up and make a win wager on Muccia. But the key is whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck on Saturday at Churchill.